If you're a health or life coach who likes to see what goes on behind the scenes of other people's businesses, then today's episode of the show is going to be perfect for you. I'm sharing a full update on what I've been up to in my business and in my life since the start of 2025. Let's dive in. Hi there, welcome to the Wholehearted Business Show. I'm Laura. I help heart-centered and highly sensitive health and life coaches get more clients, grow their businesses, and live the best lives while they do it. And today on the show, we're talking all about what I have been up to in my life and business since the start of 2025. So as I record this, it's the very start of July. The first 6 months of 2025 have come to a close, and I really enjoy doing these behind the scenes episodes. It's really quite nice for me to look back on as well. It's kind of quite cathartic for me to do these too, just to kind of reflect and review on everything that's been going on. And hopefully it's interesting for you as I talk through kind of some of the more behind the scenes elements of what it looks like in my business. Now, obviously my business is probably going to be quite different to yours, but there will be lots of similarities and hopefully lots of things that you can take from my experiences, hopefully. And also I'm going to share a bit about what I've been kind of up to in my day-to-day life as well. So to start with business stuff, it has been a really good year. I'm really in a really fantastic groove, I think, with the business and everything at the moment. It's really interesting. Like, some people have been talking about how this year so far has been a really weird one business wise, and all genuine honesty, that has not been my experience. I feel like hopefully I must be doing something right for my experience not to mirror what a lot of other people are saying, and also quite lucky that that's the case. Like, everything seems to be in flow. You know, I'm really happy with all the work that I'm doing. Like, yeah, it's just all kind of coming together in the right way, and I feel like I'm making really good progress with things and all sorts of stuff that I'll talk about in a second. So generally speaking, everything in my business is felt really in flow recently, and last year it did, things really improved. And I mean, I'll link to the episode of the show that I did where I talked about kind of 2024 as a whole, so that you can, if anyone's interested and wants to go back and look at that stuff, you can see me talking about some of the things that happened in 2024 and some of the big shifts and things that I made in business then that have certainly set me up for things this year. So some of the bigger highlights of the first half of the year in terms of business stuff: I launched Wholehearted Business for the third time. So this is like the third launch of this current kind of version of Wholehearted Business, which, for anyone who isn't aware, Wholehearted Business is my signature group program. You join for a year and you get access to loads of fantastic stuff. We have 2 group calls a month, we have co-work, and we have mindset calls. I just did a mindset call with the group yesterday that was really amazing. We always have just wonderful conversations in that group, and the coaches that I attract into that group are just always absolutely wonderful. So it's just a fantastic group. And I launched that in March, and I can't remember off the top of my head how many people joined. I think we might have had 7 or 8 people join in that round, I think. Can't quite remember. But it was really lovely, and it was also really lovely for people who had joined back when I first relaunched this version of Wholehearted Business. They obviously came to the end of their 12 months and it was time for them to move on, and that was really lovely as well. And I got some lovely feedback, and I had a couple of people who decided to stay on, which was really lovely as well. So it's really just been a wonderful experience. Adore that group. It will be reopening in September, so do look out if you want that kind of support. It's just very holistic, it's long term, it's, it is just, obviously I think it's a fantastic group. So that's been really wonderful. Another big thing that I did that I was so proud of for myself was I have trademarked Wholehearted Business. I now own the trademark of Wholehearted Business. So this is something that has been on my list, and this is a little bit of a theme for the first half of the year. I think I'm going to say a theme. There's 2 occasions where this has happened. But in terms of doing things that have been on my list for a long time that for whatever reason I just haven't managed to take any action with. And the first one was to trademark Wholehearted Business. So I put on my big girl pants and I trademarked Wholehearted Business. So now I own Wholehearted Business. So when you see me talk about Wholehearted Business, you will now see the registered trademark little symbol, which is wonderful. So I think that the official final trademark came through last week. So it was just a bit of a big moment because I've not trademarked anything before. So I need to start trademarking other things now. But it's quite exciting to have that in place and to know that that is now protected, for me to use, which is just really exciting. So that was awesome. The other big thing that I did in the first half of the year was I ran my first event. Now, I could talk a lot about the experiences with Search and Connect. It has been wonderful. It was really lovely working with people and collaborating. It was a steep learning curve for me in many, many ways. And I'm really pleased that I've ran it. Like, this has literally been on my list for a couple of years now. Big shout out to Michelle Ponver. I had a one-to-one session with her. She helped me plan out the whole event. I would not have took the action if she hadn't done that. The format of the event I was really attracted to as well. And again, Michelle's kind of pioneered that, like the audio, kind of really simple, low lift audio summit. And I really enjoyed putting that together, but it did not come without its challenges. And part of the challenges are due to something that happened personally that I will come on to later. The timings just really, things just were tricky. But I'm really, really pleased that I did it. I feel a lot more prepared for doing something in the future. Although I do have mixed feelings about bundles and summits at the moment. I don't know whether or not the bubbles burst on those a little bit at the moment. I don't know. It'd be really interesting to get your feedback, actually, if anyone's listening, watching, and has any thoughts on this. I don't know how you're feeling about bundles or summits at the moment. I think I do think for B2C, I think they're still very good, and I still think bundles and summits are amazing in general, but I feel like people are just getting a bit tired of them in the kind of more like B2B, business to business space. But I think for business to consumer, I don't think that's the case. But yeah, so I really enjoyed doing that event. I would absolutely do another one. Feel so much more prepared for what to expect, how to kind of manage collaborators, how to deal with them, how to hopefully give them a really good experience, because that was always in my mind, was like, I want to do this well. And it was also quite a lot of pressure, because I didn't want these wonderful contributors who had, were given their time to be part of this. I wanted them to have a really good experience as well. But as I say, some personal stuff happened that I will talk about in a second that just made it a little bit trickier. But it was really, really great to run that, and I really enjoyed it. And it kind of got me through that block or barrier that I had around running some kind of event. And I'm really pleased that I kind of pushed through and just did that. So it was really, really good. And then a couple of other things from the first half of the year. As I shared recently on the show, and I will link again to that episode, I have not really done anything on Instagram. I kind of ditched Instagram round about, I think it was right after the Wholehearted Business launch. I think I did that and then just never came back to it. And I explain a lot more about why that was the case and the results of that in that episode of the show that I'll link to. But that's been quite a big thing. And I'm still in that place where I'm like, I probably am going to go back and just use stories, because I am missing, I really realise that I don't kind of see what a lot of my kind of business friends are up to. I really miss that, understanding what other people are doing. I feel kind of out of the loop there. So I do think that I will go back and use stories at some point. And then I also went to Atomicon. So I've spoken about Atomicon on the show before. It is a big online business kind of conference that happens, very lucky to me, very, very close by where I live. It's very easy for me to get to. It's a no-brainer not to go to this event. It's just so close by. It's really lovely. And I always really enjoy going. I always meet new people. I always learn new things. It was just a really nice event. And for someone like me who could quite happily just be in my little kind of bubble, it's a nice push out of my comfort zone to go. And at one point I really didn't feel like I wanted to go, for reasons I'll come on to explain. It felt very, very heavy. And then a lovely person in Lizzie Goddard's group posted that she was kind of feeling a bit weird about going on her own, and it was like, right, let's meet up. And it just really made the event a lot more fun for me to know that I had someone, like a buddy, to go with. So that was really lovely. So yes, so that's kind of been the main big things. And I mean, to be honest, like, reflection on that kind of feels quite nice, because there's not been anything major across, there was a Wholehearted Business launch, and otherwise it has just been showing up on a kind of small and consistent basis. And that is the thing that has led to me attracting new clients and things like that. And I have had a lot of clients. So I have probably had the highest number of clients like on my books working with me in this first half of the year than I've ever had. And that has definitely been reflected in my income. So I think I've mentioned this in another episode of the show, but I am currently, and I'm really, really excited about this, I am currently the income that I have secured for this year and that I've had so far is more than what I had at the end of last year. So I know that I'm already way ahead of where I was last year, which is a really lovely place to be. It feels like it's happened really organically and really naturally, and it just feels really, really good. So I've talked about how my goal for a while has been to hit 70k, which I know in the online business space isn't very much, if you listen to all the people talking about multiple six figures and stuff. But for me, like, that is a figure that I would be really, really happy to get to, given that I work 20 hours a week. I don't live in an area where the cost of living is particularly crazy. Like, I don't live in London or anything like that. I live in the northeast. Like the 70k business, you know, increasing a little bit without having to hit VAT would make me extremely happy. And I feel like that 70k for this year is really within my reach. I can feel it there and it feels inevitable, and I think that's a really good energetic place to be. So I'm really excited about that. That's amazing. And also, obviously, kind of right now, what's going on right now as I record this is I am launching the Searchable Show method. So the Searchable Show method is what I hope to be kind of a course that I will have that combines a lot of the other courses that I've done, like Blog School, like how to create a multi-platform content show, and kind of brings all of that together, because I know that this process that I use for the show is really, really effective. And I've seen the results that I've gotten. I've seen the results that other people who have implemented this are getting as well. And it's really exciting to be crafting this into a course. I just really wanted to teach this because I'm really passionate about this process. It's worked so well for me. That was kind of the leading thing. But I felt like there was a place for something that was more comprehensive than the other courses that I've got that combine things together, and there was a place for this in my business to have. So I'm really excited. And as I record this, we had 10 spots, 7 of them have gone. We're on the last day. So I'm hopeful that all of those 10 spots will go, but it's really exciting to have that as well. So that's been wonderful. Really happy with that. And then again, that will be available in September, just on Evergreen for people to purchase as and when they want to. So some really, really great stuff business-wise. Really, really excited. Really, yeah, just in a fantastic, some really good stuff. It's nice to be able to share that. And I mean, again, you know, I should say it's obviously not without its challenges. And I think the main challenges for me have been personal stuff. So to move on to that, there's been some big stuff happening for me personally over, like, to be honest, the last year of my life. And I've kind of debated how much I want to share about some of this stuff. And you know, I mean, I've been blogging since 2010. Like, I've always shared a lot of the stuff that I've had going on. You know, I shared stuff when I was trying to get pregnant with Finley, and you know, because I had some fertility issues, because had basically had orthorexia and all kinds of things. I mean, this is going back way back, that I shared on the blog. So I've always kind of shared a lot of stuff about my life. So yeah, this year has been really, really, really hard personally. Like, from kind of June last year. I mean, to be honest, a bit further back than that. So the kind of first thing that's been really difficult is my son Finley, who's coming up to being 11. He has now got an official epilepsy diagnosis. Now, in the grand scheme of things, we are quite lucky. At the moment, his epilepsy seems to be okay, but I'm sure anyone who has ever witnessed a seizure knows how utterly terrifying it is, particularly if it's your child. So he had a seizure in October, completely out of the blue, just literally out of the blue, and just completely, you know, ambulances, or like the whole horrible thing. It was really awful. And then had a number of tests, and as those test results came back, they identified that he would probably have epilepsy. He had a EEG, and that showed that he had some abnormal brainwaves when he was tired or asleep. And he also had an MRI, but we didn't get the results back from the MRI until he had his second seizure, which happened at the very start of May. So again, timing for the Search and Connect event was really, really bad. So that happened. And then we got the results of the MRI, which basically says that he has a brain abnormality that is possibly from just congenital from birth. And again, I do wonder sometimes if there's anyone left in the community who has followed along with me for a long, long, long time. But anyone who does remember the early days of when Finney was born, I mean, I'm talking 10 years now, he was born with a congenital heart defect, and he had open heart surgery at 8 weeks old, and that was all very traumatic. And I'm only now feeling comfortable being able to use that term, but I am recognising that I have trauma from this, because a lot of it's been brought up with this epilepsy stuff happening. So it looks like there's been something has happened when he's been developing that has caused this. So we're still kind of waiting for a confirmation on what is actually going on with his brain, but they think that it's some kind of congenital abnormality basically. But so far he's been put on medication. that there were some ups and downs with that, but so far we seem to be okay. It's just been a lot to have to kind of just take in and worry about and manage, and it has just been a lot. But again, we are very lucky that it seems to be for him fairly manageable at the moment. So we're really hoping that everything's going to be okay and that this medication seems to be working well. So fingers crossed, that he is okay and that he gets to live a pretty much normal life with this. That's the hope. So that has been going on. And then the other big thing that's been going on, and it feels kind of weird to share this, but I have also separated from my husband and partner of the last 20 years. So that has been, obviously, as I'm sure you can imagine, a pretty massive thing. And that has been kind of going on in the background for a long time. I've not mentioned this at all before. I think I've mentioned that I've had stuff going on, but this is something that's been going on for a while. It's been in progress for a long time. There's nothing awful, like, no betrayal or anything like that, but that has been going on. And I do hope at some point, there's a lot of stuff that I could share about what's happened in this process, but obviously I really want to be respectful to my former partner and who's still my friend, and I want to be respectful. So I'm trying to find the balance of that, although, like I said, there's a lot of things that I could share about the experience and the process, and where I've been around all of this stuff, that I think would potentially help other people, because I was really looking for other people who had had a similar experience to me and struggled to find that. So perhaps at some point in the future I'll feel like I can talk a bit more about it, but that has been really, really tricky. And at the moment we are just about to actually him to not live here anymore. So we've been separated for a while, but still have lived together. And obviously the kids know and everything about that. So that's all been going on. So the last year of my life has been really, 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 really hard. It's like I say, I think other than when Finley was born and had the heart problem, it's probably been the most difficult year that I've had personally. It's been really, really hard. But that being said, I think when it comes to kind of showing up in the business, and I think it's been an interesting experience, because I had to think about, like, how is this impacting me showing up? How is this impacting me holding space for my clients? How is this impacting me in different ways? How can I share that and things like that? So some clients know, I think all of my clients know about Finley. So what I did when he had the second seizure was I basically emailed everyone and said, look, this thing's happened. It is going to impact me. I really am going to try not to let it impact our work, but can you just bear with me if I'm a little bit slow? And everyone was really supportive. And again, I feel like leading with that, like I kind of feel a responsibility to try and model these things a little bit for my clients, because we are all human, and I'm not a faceless corporation. Like, I am a human who has all of this stuff going on, but I also have a responsibility to deliver a service for people who have paid me a significant amount of money to do so. So it's balancing all of that out. So I feel like I've done a good job of that. I communicated what was going on, the separation stuff, because it hasn't been as acute. Obviously what happened with Vinny was it happened, and it was the impact on me was a lot more acute. And whereas things with my separation have been, there's certainly been ups and downs where things have been worse or have impacted me in a more profound way. And there was one particular occasion where I had to do like a last minute message to a client and say, I'm really, really sorry, but something's like, this is all just happening right now, and we're due to meet in 10 minutes and I really can't. And she was amazing. So a few of my clients will know about the separation as well. I've talked a little bit about that so that people kind of know that this stuff's going on. But it's just so kind of, again, life is life, and life has really been lifing for me over the last year, and it's kind of been lots of contrasts and lots of things to figure out and manage and to balance, and I feel like we might be coming towards some smoother ground, hopefully. Although I do follow astrology, and I know that just the astrology of 2025 is like nuts. But anyway, so that's kind of a bit of the stuff that's been going on personally. And other than that, there's still been like lots of really wonderful, beautiful things, and I'm really enjoying, I think I've spoken about this before, but kind of a couple of years ago I started wild swimming, I started paddleboarding, doing paddleboard yoga. That has just been something that is like, that's my happy place. Doing that is the thing that keeps me going when things get tough. Like, it's just something I really love. And then this summer solstice just gone. So a couple of weeks ago, me and Finley got up at 3 a.m. and drove to the beach to watch the sunrise, and it was just the most, I can't even explain, it was just absolutely magical. I think it was literally one of those moments where everything aligned. The weather was absolutely amazing. There was a crescent moon that was like, just so like everything was just perfect. It was just amazing. One of those moments that just, yeah, it was just absolutely magical. So that was really, really beautiful. And I was looking back through, because I kind of journal at the end of every season. So I do mini seasons. I've talked about this before on the show. I will link to the episode where I talk about mini seasons. I kind of do some journaling and summarise some of the stuff that's happened. And one of the really lovely things that I did was I started a new book series. So I'm really funny about, and I don't know if this is like slightly a neurodiverse thing, I'm really funny about like music and books and art and stuff that I consume. It has to be really specific to like the mood that I'm in and all this kind of stuff. But I discovered a book, and loads of people will already know this, but I discovered a book series. I'm sure loads of you guys will already be fans of this, but I discovered a Court of Thorn and Roses series from Sarah J. Maas, the fairy smut. Oh my God, it was like the best thing ever. So that was just, you know, and I started reading that like around May, so it was right around everything was kicking off with Finley's epilepsy and everything, and it just kept me going. I'm actually going to get a tattoo to do with the books. I think they just held me through a really, really hard time. And it just kind of reminded me, and again, you know, I was talking to Meg Casebo on the show a little while ago about romance books and stuff, but they just kept me going a really, really rough time. So if anyone has not read a Court of Thorn and Roses, and who is into fantasy and smut, and especially the last book is just amazing, really, really amazing, especially for a woman going through a separation. It's just perfect. So A Court of Thorn and Roses series has been absolutely fabulous. I would highly recommend it. So that kind of, summarises all of the stuff that has been going on for me lately. Coming up, kind of next steps, like the next half of the year. I'm really excited to get into the next half of the year. I've got the summer holidays coming up with the kids. I'm going to do an episode of the show talking a little bit about kind of the blending motherhood business stuff, and especially the summer holidays, kind of how we do things here, in case it's helpful for anyone else to think about this, and not even just for parents, but anyone who's having to juggle business with other responsibilities and stuff. I think that would be interesting. So obviously that's coming up. And then in September, I'll be reopening the Wholehearted Business, which is really, really exciting. And I'm thinking about how I want to launch that, and how I'll launch that in a way that's a bit creative and a bit different. So that's really exciting as well. And then I think after that, it's going to be about implementation. So there's quite a few things. I think what I've really noticed actually over the last 6 months is that I am at that point in my business growth where my systems need to do better to support me and to support my clients' experiences and things like that. So there's quite a lot of things that I want to implement in the last half of the year. So I'm hoping that I have a good Wholehearted Business launch, and then I can kind of just settle into the rest of the year and really focus on showing up the way that I do show up, signing some more clients, but also kind of implementing a lot of like behind the scenes shifts and changes in the business to support the next level of growth. So that's kind of what that is hopefully going to look like. So yeah, it's all really exciting stuff. So thank you everyone for listening. I hope that's been interesting. Like I said, this is kind of like, it feels like a bit of a big deal for me to talk about some of this stuff in this way. It's but I think I want to talk about it. It's important, I feel, for me to talk about it. I think if I reflect on it, I feel like not posting stuff on Instagram was partly because I felt like I couldn't be completely open about what was going on. And again, you want to be respectful of everyone who's involved in the situation. But as I say, we're getting to a point where things are moving on and settling in and all of that stuff. So that has been the first half of 2025. How has 2025 been for you so far? I'd love to know what's been going on for you guys. I'd love to know how the start of the year has been, what's been going on for you in your life, what's been going on for you in your business. Let me know. If you are watching on YouTube, leave me a comment. If you're listening on the podcast, again, look in the description, there's a little link there. You can click it and leave me a message if you would like that way as well, or just email me, Laura@wholeheartedlylaura. I'll always reply. So thanks guys so much for listening, watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.